Welcome to the Big Play Reflog Show and happy Victory Monday. We got Nick Padone, Chris McNeil in studio, and I know Nick had a crazy weekend of traveling and a sick bet that you hit, so I think we should start there.
Yeah, what a weekend it was. Obviously, the Browns win, Buckeyes win. That's always great, but you could sprinkle in some Columbus sports. The Crew won, the Blue Jackets won, Chris, and it really was a fun weekend for all of our Cleveland teams, all of Ohio teams. I had a parlay that hit too. That was obviously a big part of my venture. So yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, big parlay. How much did you hit for?
So I put $100. It was a 3-leg parlay. I hit 24. I hit 3 games in 24 hours. So we did Ohio State first, noon kickoff Saturday. That was a win. Then Crew, we went together Saturday night. That was a win, and that was nice to see on MLS Decision Day. And then the Browns brought it home Sunday. $100, paid $415. And I'm Venmoing some Browns fans their winnings for a Victory Monday. Sending a couple people some $100 bills on this Victory Monday.
Hey, can I be one of those? Just like $5.
Now, one of the interesting parts of your trip that you have to think about it that I don't is that you drive a Tesla, right?
Yeah.
So you have to charge that bad boy.
So I'm not a road trip guy. So that went into me purchasing the Tesla, probably 6 months back. I was like, I don't really go very far. To give people a little peek behind the curtain of what my life is like. I kind of go here, do the show, couple days out of the week, and then really the rest of my work could be all done remote. So it was like, having to charge a battery is really no big deal for me because the majority of the time I'm at home and I have a charger in my garage. But when you're talking about going 4.5 hours in one direction and then 2.5 to Columbus, you got to start planning some charges. So I think I charged probably 5 or 6 times throughout the whole trip.
Whole Foods or something?
They're Meyer, the Grove City, I think. Meyer, in Columbus. I spent many hours there this week in between all my voyages. So how I did it was I was at 100% on Friday night. So Saturday I was cool to get all the way to Columbus, no problem. And then right after the Buckeye game, before the Crew, I made a stop at Meyer and I got all the way to 100. And then after the Crew game,
what were you at?
I was at about 20.
20%. So between Columbus and Cleveland essentially 80% is gone.
Yep, exactly.
Wow.
And I also learned, which I didn't know because I don't drive that far, is if you go fast, and I like going fast because I just wanted to get there, it drains it even faster. So like there were alerts popping up on my screen, and you guys know, drive safe, whatever. But when you're on a road trip,
is that what the alerts say? Drive safe, whatever.
That's what my alert
Elon comes up on the screen.
When you're on a road trip, and again, like seriously, drive safe. But when you're on a road trip and you drive a fast car and you're under the age of 25 years old, like I am, the inertia, you want to go 90. So I was going 90, and it tells you like you have to get under 80 miles an hour. You're not gonna make it.
That's pretty wild.
You will be dead because you are driving so fast that it's draining the battery faster.
Was this a solo mission? You were just by yourself?
It was. I met up with people at a bunch of different spots. So I met up with our buddy Phil from Tipico at Ohio State, and then I met up with Reflog at the Crew.
We were there supporting the Crew,
and then I met up with my friends in Indy. So I but the travel, the car, the charging. I was solo.
What are your go-to road trip snacks? Like when you swing by, when you're just like halfway through and you have to pick up something at the gas station, what is it? And be specific.
Give me jerky all day long.
I know.
Jerky's an easy one. Quick protein, in and out, down the road. That's a go-to. Now, if I'm kind of like in one of those attitudes where maybe, I don't really want to go for the full protein, and I'm feeling a little carby, I go for combos. Combos are my go-to there.
Combos.
Combos.
I'm a big pickles in the bag gal.
Okay.
Pickles? Really? You do that? I wonder who eats those. You're the girl who eats
Cam
those?
does that too.
Not like the one, not the big pickle, not the big one in the bag.
Pickle. Okay.
I'm more like there's these chopped up ones, and they come. Yeah, they're like they come in the hot kind, and you can get the regular kind. I like a spicy pickle.
I'm very
spicy gas station.
You'll do that too, Nick?
I'm privy to the pickle game. I never did it, but Cam does it, and whenever she cracks that bag open, I'm give me some of those.
How about gas station sushi? Yes or no?
I've never done it, but have
I
done gas station wings? Unfortunately, yes.
I've never done that either.
Didn't turn out well.
Well, you know what? I was okay with it. Everyone around me was like, "What's wrong with you?"
I'll say this, and this is not a paid plug at all. Sheetz hot dogs. 2 hot dogs, $1.
There we
The
go.
best deal in America is Sheetz hot dogs. They have not fallen victim to the inflation issues in this country. Sheetz 2 dogs for $1 is here to stay. And when that changes, I will begin my political journey to combat the powers that be to make sure those hot dogs.
Sheets and the band Rusted Root. The only 2 good things to come out of Pennsylvania, right there.
I know that, Chris, you would have like a ginormous Mountain Dew, like whatever big Mountain Dew you could get at 7-Eleven.
You just get 2 liters. I mean,
Oh
real
my
ones understand
gosh.
that.
It's so messed up. Oh,
It
by the
is.
way,
we got to put an end to this.
by the way, nice pumpkin. I feel like we're bearing the lead here. Who made that? for
Yeah,
you?
thanks to Mike Pickett. Mike Pickett is out of Paynesville, and he puts these together every year. He basically gets a bunch of these pumpkins. The story with this one is I was at the Cavs opener last year, and he had a big display for these. And I said, hey, I'd love to have one. And I went up, told him who I was. He's like, yeah, I could do one of your AVs. So there it is. We got the reflog pumpkin now, proudly in
Wow.
studio.
And it does light up, just it's not
It does.
functioning right now.
Yeah, unfortunately,
it's-
I guess I left it on for way too long. So now it's out.
It's
But
also
yes, it
pretty
does.
bright in here.
It really is. That's pretty sick. You say AV instead of Avi? Is that what it
AV?
is?
AV. I think it's. Well, let's talk about this, right? Because it's an avatar.
So I say
The
Avi.
Browns win, and this is what we're talking about.
Okay, you know
and
what?
the Buckeyes.
This is why we can't have nice things, kids.
I know we have time on our hands, but we'll get to that. It looks like we've got a wrap up right now, so we'll talk all things pumpkin and Browns win when we come back right after this. Welcome back to the Big Play Reflog Show. Let's check in with Bohm. Bohm, how many minutes do we have for this next segment to chat it up?
Great question.
I hope you put yourself on camera because he's got a nice haircut.
He
Come on,
does. He
show the
does. He's
people.
looking styling
You have-
today.
You have a shot set up, right? Maybe
I don't know
not.
that he does.
7 minutes here.
All right,
7 minutes.
7 minutes, and we'll let you just guess about Bohm's new haircut for now. Okay. Anyway, so should we start with Browns or?
Well, I was going to start along the trip for Nick here on our Super Victory Monday. The first stop, the first leg was there at the Horseshoe. You got to see College Game Day. You got to see the whole atmosphere of a huge, huge game for the Buckeyes there playing Penn State. You had Scarlet out there at the stadium.
Yeah.
You had over 100,000 people easy, probably 200,000 people outside milling around, in addition to the people that were going in. What was that whole experience like?
I think Ryan Day said it best, man. That's the loudest that I ever heard that stadium.
Yeah.
I've been at, plenty of Buckeyes games. I was there for the opener against Notre Dame last year, and that was a big game. That was a night game as well. Didn't even parallel. I mean, it was deafening in there from the jump. Buckeye fans knew the magnitude of that game. Top 10 matchup in the Big Ten with Penn State there at 7. Buckeyes at 3. And I think that we talked about it on the show, and I think we were 100% right, Chris. I think the Buckeyes as a team and as really like as a unit with Ryan Day, they're still riding that high of calling out Lou Holtz and beating Notre Dame. It really it feels like that was a turning point for the season for the team, but I think for Buckeye fans too, because there was just a different type of buzz and a different type of atmosphere. I mean, there were Penn State chants that were loud. I heard that was getting like bleeding through the broadcast at certain
it was.
points. It was crazy. Like when you think of a college football atmosphere, I think that's exactly what I think of. And really, too, I think that is a textbook definition of the fans playing a role, because Drew Aller from right here in Medina, 19-year-old kid that's trying to play QB at Penn State, and he's doing a damn good job. He was awful on Saturday.
I
and he
actually
couldn't
felt
hear
bad
anything.
for him. I felt bad for him because they do that vignette before the game about him being from Medina. They show him in all these the Browns gear. They show him in Indians gear. He talks about how he's a huge fan of like Bernie Kosar and just everything Cleveland. And you're like, I want to beat this guy, but I kind of am this guy just without the athletic ability. And then he goes out and just has a rough afternoon. As a Buckeyes fan, you love to see that. Jim Knowles' defense showing up, but just from a human standpoint, that was a little rough to watch.
It was. It was.
So a week and a half from now, we get the first college playoff standings. Where do you think the Buckeyes are going to land in those standings?
They got to be it. I mean,
number
they
one,
gotta be
right?
number one. Yeah. If not number two, okay, sure. If you want to put Georgia there because they're still the class, whatever.
What did they start out? Three, 4, 5?
Well, right now we're just doing like the AP nonsense, which right now they were 3 prior to this win. But I mean, to take down the 7th team in the nation, Penn State, with that defense, by the way, is for real. Like that scoop and score that was called back, that deflated the stadium. Like Penn State did make some plays throughout that ball game, and it was really a nice hang around effort by them throughout that entire first half before the Buckeyes were able to blow it open. But yeah, they got to be the top team, if not the second in the entire nation when you start looking at college football. And truly, as long as you take care of business, Thanksgiving weekend against that team up north, it's all right there in front of you to win a national championship this year.
What are your predictions for that?
It's still a bit away. I think they need to start playing complete games. Like I think they've been such a slow starting team where it was like this Penn State game. Like I wasn't sure that they were gonna win that. Penn State was hanging around. I think if they could show against Wisconsin coming up that they could play a complete dominant game, I'd feel a lot better about Michigan because they still are very good too, and they're gonna get love in that top 4 when you start looking at college football playoff rankings.
So leg 2 of your trip was with me. We went to the Crew game. Won't spend a whole lot of time on it, but I love to highlight the experience it is a Crew game. You get the Nordeca going. You've got that whole stadium. You talked about the energy at the Buckeyes at Ohio Stadium for the Buckeyes game. A lot of that carried over. We saw a lot of jerseys out there.
We did.
A lot of people who had been day drinking all day, going to the Crew game, getting a little after party feel. That was a lot of fun. The Crew gets it done.
Yeah, and it was. And I guess I'm not going to try to be a soccer expert because I'm certainly not that.
A lot of shots on goal for us, not many for them.
It was. They dominated. The ball was on one part of the pitch the entire game. And typically when that happens, good thing happens. They were down 1-0 to start. So obviously me that has money on this game, I'm like, Jesus, is this really gonna am I really gonna have the Crew of all legs spoil this? Like, okay, if Ohio State or the Browns lost, like that's at least I care a little bit more. But the Crew is like, and they go down 1-0, but then they get 2 back.
Wow.
2 back unanswered, and we're able to get out of there with a dub. And I literally ran out of the stadium, got in my car, and drove to Indy.
Watching soccer gives me a little anxiety. It's a lot like hockey in the aspect of like the fact that it can just be so low scoring and you just need the one
and instant death.
Yeah,
at any time.
It's just so crazy the turn of events that can happen in either of those games. Do you watch a lot of soccer? I know you said you're not a huge soccer head, but Chris?
Just the games that I go to.
Yeah,
for the
same.
Crew, and I'll watch them from afar. And obviously, if they make the playoffs, which they're now in, and they clinch some home field there, so that was a big deal on Saturday night. But I'll follow them now, but not a huge amount.
What's more exciting, hockey live or soccer live?
Ooh, hockey.
Yeah.
When the hands
the
start,
violence.
Yeah, when you throw hands, I thought they were gonna start throwing hands.
There was
a little where they were really kicking it and they were kind of close, and the ref came in. I was like, just let them loose, But yeah, for me, it's still hockey is way cooler live.
Because when I watch hockey on TV and soccer, I feel like I'm a little neutral. It's kind of like baseball. Then I get to baseball and I like love it. And when I watch hockey live, I'm so into it because of that. Like they're running into each other and into the glass, and you're like right there. So yeah, I just wondered what soccer was like. I haven't been to a soccer game since the Cleveland Crunch.
Wow.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
The Crunch.
Growing up,
That was indoor soccer.
The new Crew Stadium, lower.com field, state of the art. You got to check
the
it
Death
out.
Star.
Our friends at Tipico, they're all over that stadium. Like literally, like the big Tipico lounge is there, and just the atmosphere there it's kind of a college football atmosphere. People are singing the songs and doing the chants. You got to go check one out if you've never been before. And it's kind of family friendly too. They got the mascots around. You see kids kind of everywhere, so it's not that crazy.
And now we have a break. After that, we want to come back and hear about the magical third leg of this Nick Padone trip.
Welcome back to the Big Play Reflog Show. Nick, your final stop was in Indiana with the Browns yesterday, and wow, what a hit on your parlay. And just tell us about the atmosphere, and did you pass out at any point during the game?
I did not. I didn't pass out. yeah, check with your local healthcare provider to see if your heart is healthy enough to consume some of these Browns games. 2 consecutive weeks that it really just comes down to, the last play of the game.
Yeah, I don't think it would be safe for
getting
McNeil to
some
drink
breaks.
Mountain Dew and watch what you watch. in
Doctors
Indiana.
advise.
Yeah.
9 out of 10 doctors say do not do that. And the last one is watching it alongside of me. But yeah, this is the second straight game, like you were saying, where, hey, we got lucky.
Yep.
We're not giving it back, though. In Cleveland, we're not giving this back. We've been on the opposite side of so much bad luck, so many bad play calls, so many field goals that miss, that I will take the last 2 weeks, and I don't care how many times you come at me. We deserve everything we get on the good side now because we've been on the other side so many times.
I was going to say, is it creepy? Dare I say that the last 2 games, I feel like we got help from the officiating, at least in this game.
From the football gods, too.
Yeah,
The football gods, the
gods,
officials, everybody. It's like, I've seen the script for this NFL season. I'm liking it so far, halfway through, right?
The way that game ended, it felt like, traditionally speaking, the way that should have ended was with a Browns lose by 1 situation.
The same old Browns lose that game. When people kind of throw that tagline around of what the Browns used to be, they would lose that game because they didn't have a good culture. They didn't have good coaching. They didn't have good enough players. They would have found a way to lose that game. And also, when we talk about the refs, Gab, good teams get help from the refs. It is what it is. Like, look at Patrick. Watch a Chiefs game. They help Patrick Mahomes. Watch a Tom Brady Super Bowl. Who are they pulling for? Good teams are always going to get some help from the refs, and the Browns are a good team. The Browns employ superstars that the league wants to see do well.
Are we sitting at the popular kids table now? Is that what we're
Miles
saying in the
Garrett
NFL?
Yeah.
Miles Garrett is taking up the whole popular kids table right now. He is the popular kids table.
Yeah.
Well, we talk about it on the show. We've talked about it for years now, winning at the margin, right? And that's all it comes down to. The NFL is so parity-driven that they want to have teams that are all about 500 and all very close in talent. And for you to win and rise above in this league, you've got to be able to win at the margin. And that means making field goals, which now we got D-Hop, right? Another huge kick. And look at on the other side, missed field goals. You have Myles Garrett with the huge block, that huge first half. But that all goes into that whole winning at the margin. And these were games, like you said, we lose in the past. If we have Cade York as our kicker, we lose this game. We lose last week. There's 2 losses. This is an entirely different feel on this entire season if both of those things happen.
I'm wondering if I'm not taking D-Hop for granted,
Yeah.
Like I think that I'm
4 for 4 yesterday.
I'm just so confident in him now, and I have a good feeling when he goes to do his job.
Andrew Berry's 2 best moves, getting Amari Cooper for a 5th-round pick and really getting Dustin Hopkins for a 7th-round pick. Like you said, Chris, that's 2 losses on the schedule if that guy's not your kicker. It's so funny, too, that the knock on him, he's automatic Johnson from 40 within, but when you start getting out there for those 50-plus yard kicks is where he gets a little shaky. I don't know. Yesterday, he's hitting from 57. That boy would have been good from 65.
Well,
and you're not nervous while it's in the air.
No.
Yeah.
Those are
It's
looking
straight
good.
Through.
I prefer that, someone who can consistently get the ones that we need, than someone who once in a blue moon we can see him, do something crazy from 67
Or
yards.
pregame 70-yarders from the Muni lot.
Lord.
Yeah, training camp in Berea in June, the 6 for 6 days.
Yeah, consistency all day, baby.
So you get to the end of that game, right? We have 4 shots from the 1 to get that bad boy in. I'm thinking there's going to be 2 ways this thing's going to end. I'm thinking we go 0 for 4, or Kareem Hunt scores, right? We take the lead by 1. I think 15 seconds left, 14 seconds, whatever it was. Like, there's just enough time. And then that ensuing kickoff goes out without any time going off the clock. If they hit something here, all of a sudden a field goal sinks us. So my mind immediately goes to the bad. The Browns overcome that. Obviously, we win. But it's so nice to kind of move past that, not have another sob story for Cleveland, and have a nice victory on the road.
I was so stressed. I thought Njoku, I think he had 2 chances there at the end, and I was just beside myself.
And people were, you go on Twitter and people are mad, and Njoku's got to make that catch. The DB made a hell of a play on the football. I mean, that
hit him in the mask, right?
Yeah.
The
Went
one
right
wa-
off his
yeah,
grill,
Yeah, and then,
And
like...
The first one in the end zone, I feel like he had that, and he got punched
Some of the
out at
decision making, though, like, I get that you didn't have any timeouts, so you got to throw so the clock stops. But boy, the Kahunas on Kevin Stefanski to wait until 4th down to try your first run. If Kareem Hunt doesn't score there, the game's over. Browns lose.
Right.
And
he barely broke the plane.
Yeah, I probably would have
Take
tried
that back.
running.
He easily broke the plane. There was no question about that.
Maybe it was my mind watching, but I'm like, did he do
Did
it?
he get
And
it?
I had to watch the replay to be confident in it.
And how about this?
Same.
Going into that game, if you would have told me that you have P.J. Walker handing off to Kareem Hunt to win the ball game, Kareem was questionable right up to game time there, and of
P.J.
course Walker
needs-
wasn't supposed to play.
He needs more love.
How
Like,
about
wow.
this?
Yeah,
The-
2-0.
Three
Look
of
at him.
the 3 players that we're giving our flowers to: Dustin Hopkins,
Yes.
Kareem Hunt,
Amen.
P.J. Walker.
Yup.
None of 3
Well, and
were
Myles Garrett.
on the Browns on September 1st. Andrew Berry needs a little bit of credit too, because he swallowed his pride. They weren't going to bring back Kareem Hunt, guys, because they didn't like how he handled his business in training camp last year. They were going to roll with DTR, the 5th round pick, but then when he didn't get the job done, they did the right move and they switched to PJ Walker. Andrew Berry has swallowed his pride multiple times, got rid of a draft pick in Cade York to win these football games, and I think he deserves a little
That's
bit of
so
credit
fair.
for acknowledging his shortcomings and making some quick changes on
That's
the fly.
so fair. It's nice to see, and we've talked about it in other capacities with Browns, especially on offense, but just in general, the ability to adjust and bring in PJ Walker. And look what it's done for us.
And it's big. And we'll talk some Stefanski and some Watson, I'm sure, in this next segment, because that's something that can't be ignored as we start looking it forward.
It can.
I've been critical of Kevin. I'll give him credit for yesterday because he took his head out of that Denny's menu. He realized that he had a backup quarterback, an XFL guy in PJ Walker. He ran the football. He relied on the screen game, and he let Dustin Hopkins continue to make 3 points, because old Kevin, he would have been going for it and slinging the ball all over the schoolyard. He definitely made some good adjustments once Deshaun got hurt or whatever happened.
All right. More Browns and fill in the blank right after this. Oh, welcome back to the Big Play Reflog Show. Gabriella Cruz alongside Nick Padone, Chris McNeil. Let's do a little fill in the blank, shall we?
Yeah, let's
All right,
do it.
after we just did that nice short breakdown of the Browns, on a scale of 1 to 10, my confidence level in the Browns going forward is...
Ooh, man.
I guess Deshaun is back for next week.
It depends on who you talk to, right?
Yeah.
Stefanski said, yes, he's our starting quarterback. Deshaun was like, it's a day-to-day thing. So who are you going to side with on that one? I'm not sure. I think ultimately it's probably going to be P.J. Walker again. I really think so.
Yeah.
It is interesting that I feel like, how hard is it before you go on the press conference, a 30-second, hey, what are you gonna say? Here's what I'm gonna say. Let's have our stories aligned. So when we go up there, we're on the same page, because you're exactly right, Chris.
Yeah.
Kevin goes up there, and said it was my decision to hold him out.
Right.
I'm protecting our most valuable asset. Yes, he was medically cleared. No, he doesn't have a concussion. And then Deshaun gets up there and says, oh, I was medically held out and I don't know if I'm gonna play next week. It's like, how do you not align on the same page? And that's just who Kevin has been as a head coach throughout his entire time here. There's been a ton of confusion under him. It was the same thing with Baker. We did this same exact show 2 years ago. You could probably go find it, and we were saying the same exact things then. So they got to figure that out, Gab, for my confidence level to be anywhere on the right half of 5. Right now, my confidence is a 5, because if you don't have a quarterback, you don't have anything in this league. You've been able to get a couple wins. That is great. You have a couple NFC opponents coming up, which is also great. These games don't matter as much, Seattle, Arizona, but then look at the next 2, Pittsburgh, Baltimore. That's your season right there. And if you can't figure out this quarterback thing in these next 4 games, you're toast.
I'm at a 6. I'll say a 7 on this one. That's pretty high for me in the Cleveland Browns, to be honest with you. I know what these Browns are as they are right now. You've got fantastic defense, and you've got timely offense. That's it. They're like a baseball team, right? They've got to hit a home run every once in a while because that's about all you're going to get unless you have Deshaun Watson out there consistently moving the ball. And without Chubb out there, I know Ford broke off the big one, and that's what I'm saying. This is basically just a home run and try and have the defense win it for you on that side of the ball at this point. And thank God we've had such great success out of the special teams game with D-Hop because those pieces all have to be in concert for the Cleveland Browns to continue to win. Right now it's working. Those are two games we wouldn't have won before. I know we needed some outside help. I know all this noise on the outside with Deshaun Watson, with Kevin Stefanski can be pushed to the outside because we're winning. And don't get me wrong, that's the reason it's on the back burner right now. Otherwise, it'd be on the front. If we lose both of those games, and we're just a missed field goal and a ref's call away from that, but if we lose both of those games, it's a completely different conversation, but we're not having that conversation. That's why I give you a 7 on the Cleveland Browns.
Who would you hope to see at quarterback? Let's say Deshaun is healthy. I hope blank is the Browns starting QB this week in Seattle.
Well, if Deshaun's healthy, I want him out there. I mean, $230 million guy, I'm going to want Deshaun to be our starting quarterback. If he's not 100%, or we're going to see that form of Deshaun Watson we saw there where he's throwing picks and he didn't look very, interested in moving the ball at all. I mean, he looked kind of disinterested on the field. To me, I don't want that version of him. If he's not 100%, and that's mentally, that's physically, that's everything, then, we're going to have to go with P.J. Walker.
So, and I guess that's the question that I need answered before I could give an answer to that. Was he not 100% going into yesterday? Because Mary Kay Cabot said that they're not going to hold any punches with the guy. He's cleared. He's going to go. Well, surely enough, they didn't pull any punches. He threw the ball 5 times and 2 of them were picks. They were taking their shots. So was he not 100% or did he just stink? That's the conversation that really needs to be had. And if he just
bad.
If he's hurt, then sit him. But if he just stunk, then you got to play him and figure this out. I get why Kevin doesn't want to, because Kevin could know, well, if this guy blows, that's it for me. Who are they going to get rid of? The guy that's getting paid $230 million or the guy that has 1 year left on his deal?
Yes.
So those are the things that need to be answered, and really we don't have the answer as to.
Do you kick the tires on Jacoby Brissett?
I do, yeah.
On that trade with
Washington. I mean, we thought they wouldn't swallow their pride. I'll say it again with the Cade York thing and bring in a guy, and they did. We thought when Chubb got down, Kareem Hunt makes perfect sense. They did. I think we're at that point. And especially if this shoulder thing isn't going to go away, which is showing no signs of stopping. He fell right on it when he threw that second pick on Sunday. I call on Jacoby, sure.
Yeah.
I don't know if Washington does, though. That Sam Howell has taken 40 sacks through 7 games. The NFL record is like 70-something. He's going to crush that number. That dude's getting killed. So they might need Jacoby out there in Washington.
All right, since we have those question marks at quarterback, who needs to step up for the Browns on offense?
Oh, boy, I'd like to see the offensive line as a unit come together better. To be honest with you, there are times where, with a quarterback, the situation like we've got right now, you've got to be able to count on those guys up front. And I know that they've been able to bust open some holes at times. I'd like to see more consistency in the running game so you could take the heat off the quarterback position. Whether it's Watson, whether it's Walker, it doesn't matter to me. I think the offensive line has got to pull more weight.
I agree. Yeah, I agree with that completely. And if I can't say could I say Deshaun is the guy that I need to see more of? And it's really not it's a selfish reason, right? Because this is your $230 million quarterback. This was the guy that you moved off of Baker Mayfield from. Baker could be 4-2 with the Browns right now, and it wouldn't have cost you $230 million guaranteed.
Do you think that the fact that it's guaranteed, it gives him the wiggle room to be like, you know what? I'm not going to play, or even worse, is he sticking it to anybody behind the scenes?
No, I don't think so. I really don't. I don't think
conspiracy theories.
I don't think there's a conspiracy at play. I really do think that he's hurt, and I don't think he has been hurt in his career before. So like this, it's either that he's out because he's had that a couple times, but this is just pain management. So I don't think he knows how to handle that, and that's fine. That's on him being a young dude. He is still young.
I'll take exception with one thing. I think it's pain management, but it's also kind of the mental game of going back as an injured player. And a lot of players have talked about this. There's that mental hurdle you've got to overcome when you're not right and going back out there and being able to play a physical game like the NFL football game is. And I think that that's also got him because he doesn't look like, that swashbuckling franchise quarterback we thought we were getting when he steps on the field.
No, there's no confidence.
I don't
There's
think the
no
confidence,
confidence.
the aura of confidence is absent.
Especially take that beginning of that game on Sunday. Gardner Minshew looked like the $230 million quarterback. He was poised. He was calm. He was doing this Steph Curry shimmy in the end zone. And Deshaun looked like just read body language, like a shell of himself, like a
robotic
ghost walking around with his head down. He was in the tent. Then they came out. Then he went back in the tent. I've never seen that happen before. I definitely think there are some mental things at play, and they have to figure that out, whether it's this year, whether it's moving forward, because guys, he's not going anywhere.
Right.
Yeah. We've got to take a break. More Browns and bets coming up after this. Welcome back to the Big Play Reflog Show, giving our full breakdown analysis of where we think the Browns are headed, especially after where we've been. One more thing. What do you think the Browns' record on Thanksgiving Day will be?
We sit down and eat that turkey.
By that point, we've got at Seattle, then at home versus Arizona, then we're away playing the Ravens, and then back at home for Pittsburgh.
2 divisional. I tell you what, am I being too optimistic? I think we could go 3-1.
3-1. Okay.
I know that's really optimistic, and that's really shooting for the moon. That puts us at 7-3. As I sit down and I eat some stuffing and eat my turkey, I would feel really, really good about it. I think that that's insanely optimistic, but why not? We've got a defense that's playing kind of otherworldly. We're going to talk about Seattle a little bit here in a minute, but they're kind of a middle-of-the-road team both offensively and defensively. Arizona doesn't scare me. And then you got Baltimore and Pittsburgh. You've got to be able to win at least one of those. I could see us potentially winning both. I know Baltimore is going to be very difficult to do. Pittsburgh's always tough, but by that time maybe we have Deshaun back. Things have kind of come together, and things are looking up for the Browns. So I'm going to go optimistic on this one, Nick.
Alrighty, I'm going to go. I'm optimistic too, but I'm gonna stay 2-2. Just go 2-2 over these next 4.
And I'd take that.
I don't care how you get there, right? Because then you're still sitting at 6-4, and I think then you're still feeling really good as a 6-4 ball club when you peek ahead. Then you got Denver. You got the Rams, who just lost another game against the Pittsburgh Steelers this past week. You got the Texans in there. You got Chicago. Those are all winnable games. So find a way over these next 4 weeks to come out of this thing at 6-4, and I think we'll be feeling really, really good about where the Browns are at. I don't know how you get there. I don't know if it's Deshaun. I don't know if it's PJ. I don't know if it's bringing Jacoby back. I don't know if it's Kirk Cousins.
I was ready to play Myles Garrett at quarterback. It was his
I
game
was
yesterday.
ready for it too.
At the very end, I was like, he's done everything this whole game. Somebody put this dude in at the last minute. If anyone's going to score this touchdown or whatever, either throw the ball or run it in, it's going to be Myles Garrett.
Yeah.
I could see him just leaping over the line or something. I don't know.
Speaking of bets, my Myles Garrett Defensive Player of the Year bet is pacing.
Looking good.
Oh.
We'll knock on the wood now.
How much
but
did
it's
you
pacing.
put down on that?
I put $16 on it. He had 16 sacks last year,
Oh,
so I
okay.
was like, he'll be able to have more than 16. So that was the reason why. And I think it pays like 160 something. I don't know.
I like that. I love it. Yeah, and his season is right here, Halloween, baby.
Yeah,
That's right.
Yeah,
Should start seeing tweets about the decor at his house and
Yep.
how many more tombstones
It's
have been
about
put
that
up with
time.
quarterbacks.
Yeah,
You
you know,
see
the
tombstones.
the creeps are out there that'll be driving by his house, taking photos of his front lawn. So
Reflog, get out of here.
What do we need to look ahead to with the Seahawks here?
I think the biggest thing, Gab, is we're going to play the game again on Wednesday. It's going to come up to, is Deshaun going to practice? Is he going to speak with the media? Kevin said that he's going to be the starting quarterback against Seattle. So
This whole dynamic is so weird, you guys. I just got to say, it's just so weird.
I think, like, unless he gets hurt or, like, he wakes up today and it's even more sore, which is possible, you know, from what I understand with rotator cuff injuries. I've never had one myself. That boy could be barking at him today, especially the way that he fell on it. So I think we have to see how the week goes and see what Wednesday brings. But the recipe for this team is out there, and it's continuing to play good defense. You're going to have to take that with you again on the road. It's got to be better than what it was against the Colts. You can't let Geno Smith drop a 40 burger on your head. It was a weird game from that defense as a collective unit, and they got to be better. And I think they know that. I like that Newsome and Thornhill both tweeted, we'll take a win, but boy, was that ugly.
Yeah.
They acknowledged it.
And it'll be interesting to see on the Seattle side of the ledger. Have you seen any updates on DK Metcalf? He was out last week. You got Jackson Smith and Jigba from the Ohio State. Bohm over here nodding along. OHIO had, I believe, his first touchdown this past weekend.
He did. That was awesome.
So
wide open, separating per usual.
Dynamite drop in over there, Bohm. So he's going to be up there at the top along with Tyler Lockett should be out there, and Bobo is who they're going to be relying on. And, of course, the emergence of Kenneth Walker in that running game that this defense is going to have to stop. And it'll be an interesting test because whenever you're going out to Seattle, that's a tough place to play. It's not exactly the Legion of Doom like it used to be back in the day, but still, that is a tough, tough environment out there in the Pacific Northwest.
And it's a big cross-country trip, too. And I do think that emergence of Kenneth Walker is a big one to watch throughout the week. I'm starting to understand that could be the antidote to defeating this Jim Schwartz defense is running it up the middle. The Colts did that a lot yesterday with Zach Moss and Jonathan Taylor. I think Seattle's going to try to do that a lot with Kenneth Walker, really get the ground game going, especially with Geno Smith, who's kind of been a journeyman guy, playing really good football right now.
Good last year, kind of not as good. It's right there.
Don't
acceptable.
let him heat up. Don't let him heat up is all I'm saying. We've seen games like that before where a Geno Smith could tear up the Browns. We saw it with Gardner Minshew this past weekend, so don't let that happen again.
Nick, you know what you have to do. You have to make the trip now.
Wow.
How many charge ups would you need on the Tesla to get all the way out to Seattle from Cleveland, Ohio?
I would have had to left yesterday from Indiana and just started heading in that direction. But that's why we do this show live at Burke Lakefront Airport. Get me on a flight and I'll head out there.
Yeah, I know. Just take one of those jets. You got this. We can't afford to have you not present now at away games.
One of these little prop planes or whatever that we got out here, I think that would even take me a long time to get to Seattle. I think it would probably take me 2 hours just to get to Cincy in one of those.
Well, I'm inspired since you made the road trip. I actually have a ton of FOMO that you did that, and count me in for the next one you do.
It was fun. Yeah, I definitely want to do more in the future. It was cool, too, having like Tipico kind of be like a big part of it the whole way. And I knew like if this thing hits, like I'm gonna Venmo people money, so like people were kind of following along with it, and yeah, it was fun.
Is it easy to find Browns fans?
Everywhere. Like there were Here We Go Brownies chants in the bars Saturday night.
Yeah.
Like it was really cool.
And you're just adopted in. Do you go and socialize? You
No.
know me. I'm a kind of a.
You're a social
I'm a
butterfly.
cold open. Like
You're cold open.
Go around, and I'll just go up to him. But I wasn't sure what your vibe was. If you found your people as you went along.
I mean, well, like it was cool because I was meeting up with people everywhere. Like had I been solo, maybe I would have go Browns it a little bit harder with some people. But I was with a group once I was like adopted right into kind of an existing group, I guess. Once I got there, of Browns fans, but they were everywhere. They were not hard to find in Indy. We took over.
All right.
Back to the first leg of your trip, though, with the Buckeyes. I had one more fill in the blank that was on my list that I don't think we touched on. This is the best Buckeye defense since blank.
Oh, you tell me. I don't know.
I'd say since Tress.
Wow.
2002. I tell you what, and just look at the roster we had back then. Bobby Carpenter of Big Play. Dustin Fox, Chris Gamble, C. Grant, A.J. Hawk, Will Smith, Matt Wilhelm, Kenny Peterson, Bohm over here. He's just nodding along. That defense was something. That was the Silver Bullets were founded back in 1996. They were the epitome of the Silver Bullets, and it feels like Silver Bullets is back in Columbus, Ohio.
Yeah, it really does. And if something just changes for JT Tumilioyo, however you say his last name.
Well said.
Against Penn State, he sees those Nittany Lion uniforms, and he turns into a different beast. And the defense as a whole is playing really well. I like Eichenberg, is just consistently crashes up into that box and makes plays. They are a lot of fun, Chris.
It's going to be an exciting run. I can't wait to see what happens with the playoffs when the playoffs ranking comes out, because I know this Buckeye team is going to be at the top, as we talked about, and I'd put them up against anybody. Anytime you got a defense, similar story to the Cleveland Browns, right? Anytime you have a defense, you've got a chance. That's why I have confidence of 7 with the Cleveland Browns, and that's pretty high for me. I have confidence way higher than that, of course, on the Buckeyes. I think that the ceiling is very high on this team, and it's all going to come down to the offense at the end of the day and the quarterback play to see if we can get more consistency out of that, because that's ultimately what we're going to need to do when we're playing the big boys down in the playoffs.
Similar story out of all of our football teams, guys. What do you guys say that we step aside and we try to look forward to next week and win some more bets?
Yeah, I'm going to have to be betting on OSU.
All right, cool. We'll talk more about those OSU Buckeyes straight ahead. Don't go anywhere. Welcome on back into the Reflog Show right here on Big Play. Our Big Play bets this week and every week are always presented to you by our friends over at Tipico Sportsbook. You hear us talking about them on the show every week. Truly the best sports book out there. You got to download it, though, to hear what we're talking about. Go to the App Store, the Play Store, download Tipico. When you do, use that promo code REFLOG150. You're going to get all sorts of bet credits on us, but really what you got to check out is the Big Play boosts. We're highlighting these markets every week. You hear us talking Browns on the show, Buckeyes. We're going to have some Cavs coming up in the very near future. And we're boosting odds on all of your favorite Cleveland sports teams, your athletes. Tipico truly will give you the best odds of any book out there on our Cleveland sports, Ohio sports, teams, players, you name it. You got to go download it. Go do it now and check out our Big Play boosts. Gab, we'll get into Ohio State. Let's build a big play boost for Browns at Seahawks. This line opened at +2.5. What are we thinking here?
Well, I'd like to go on the defensive side of the ball and go Myles Garrett getting another sack.
I like it.
Yeah, I always like when we
Garrett.
can incorporate some defense into this. And then, we've done the Njoku bet a few weeks in a row. We just talked about him kind of dropping the ball. How about a Njoku touchdown?
I think he's due.
He's due, and he's progressing so well from these burns. Honestly, like another great day receiving this past Sunday. 54 yards through the air. He had 40 last week. He is starting to turn it on as a pass catcher. Now it's just finally breaking one loose and catching one in the end
this the
zone.
week? Is this the week we finally bet on him and he hits it?
All right, so should we just go
he
that?
was too close
go
this
simple.
Past. I like those.
Two legs, a Myles Garrett sack and a Njoku anytime touchdown.
Okay. No money line because it's a little risky, or what?
It's a little risky. It's all the way out west, and I feel like when we do money line, we put the jinx on. So let's stay away. Let's do Thursday night football. Guys, this is going to be a fun game, and it's one that's going to be talked about here locally a lot as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and our old guy Baker Mayfield's going to travel to Buffalo as they're going to look to get right after that embarrassing loss on Sunday to the Patriots. Tampa Bay opened as a 7.5-point dog. I think Buffalo bounces back in big fashion against the Bucs, and I think they cover the 7.5.
I don't think Josh Allen is okay with what transpired against the Patriots. So I would expect a bounce back here.
They need to turn Josh Allen loose a little bit. He is not the same quarterback that I've been accustomed to watching. He doesn't look like he's enjoying the games as much either. Turn him loose, and he'll be better.
That's so true.
And that's on Ken Dorsey. And there's a lot of heat on former Browns star Ken Dorsey, quarterback, and now offensive coordinator at Buffalo. He's in charge of making that offense go, and I think he gets it turned around. So look for Buffalo to bounce back in a big way.
Alrighty, and then let's wrap with the Buckeyes. They're 14-point favorites on the road at Wisconsin. We know they'll be jumping around. The over-under is 44. Let's build a Buckeyes same-game parlay. There was a lot of chatter in Columbus, about this one potentially being a trap game, playing at Camp Randall at night. I don't think so. Buckeyes roll. Give me Ohio State -14.
I like that too. I think you're ever since the Lou Holtz call out, I think we've been riding a wave of momentum. I think Ryan Day's got the players bought into this Ohio versus the world mentality, and I think that continues even up in Camp Randall. I like them to cover against Wisconsin.
Alrighty, last one before we get you guys out of here. The Cavs at Nets. Cavs winning the opener.
Let's go.
Let's go, Cavs.
Let's go, Cavs.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in to the Reflog Show. Download Tipico now. And